Dana White is fed up with this guy. So if it does go to decision, I guarantee you, Ciryl Gane wins a decision if this goes that far, because the UFC hates Francis Ngannou right now. Hates him. Any counterpoints to that, AJ?
I mean, I don't know if the UFC hates Francis Ngannou.
Welcome into Monkey Knife Fights preview show, folks, of UFC 270. That's right, AJ Schullo and I are back talking fights. AJ, it's been a while. How are you?
I'm doing great, Connor. It's good to be here with you. Great pay-per-view event to start off the year. We had our first UFC event just last week. We took a bit of a hiatus, but when we came back, we have a lot of good things to look forward to, including on this card. We've got 2 title fights. We've also got some other intriguing bouts on the card, a lot of prospects, a lot of debuting fighters. So they might not be the types of names that like the casual fans will recognize at first glance, but I think once we see a lot of these fights play out, they have potential for a lot of action and maybe even some finishes as well.
Now, a more of sort of a state of the union address about the UFC right now and what's going on with it. And I think it all kind of starts and stops with this Saturday night's title fight for the heavyweight world championship. And that's really what the story has been. Francis Ngannou, after he won the belt against Stipe, he took some time off, traveled the world, went to Cameroon, celebrated with his people, and all credit to him. But when Dana White said for the call to come defend the belt, he didn't want to. So Ciryl Gane steps in, beats Derek Lewis pretty handily, by the way. And now we finally have these 2 former teammates. They're going to war. Something to note is the former coach of Francis Ngannou, now current coach of Ciryl Gane, he released some tape. I've been watching this pretty closely. And in the lead up to this, I was just watching some media. And man, he was blasting Francis Ngannou's ego, blasting his cardio, his ability of not wanting to put the real work in. It just doesn't look good from the Francis Ngannou side, especially with him now calling out Tyson Fury in the boxing. It just, Francis Ngannou seems he has so much going on in his life, and Ciryl Gane is hitting pads. Francis Ngannou's in movies. Ciryl Gane is hitting pads. I just feel like this is going to be a really one-sided fight, and I think Ciryl Gane's going to pick him apart. I'm going to take the more on Ciryl Gane, the less on Francis Ngannou, and I'm taking a 3rd round TKO finish because Ciryl Gane, man, he lands over 5 significant strikes per minute, absorbs less than 2.5 per minute. He gets in and out. He looks like Wonder Boy in the heavyweight division. The way he shuffles and slides, it's incredible to watch. Go back and watch that Volkov fight, folks. Look at the adversity he dealt with in the first round and the way he turned it on. That pace was incredible. And the way that he was able to keep that pace up through the duration of that 15 minutes, Francis Ngannou doesn't have that kind of cardio. You saw what he did against Jairzinho Rosen. Run forward. It's not going to work. Ciryl Gane's going to be a heavyweight champion of the world come Saturday night. Boom!
There you have it, folks. Yeah, I like Gane as well. I'm not as sold on him, just, maybe as dominantly or as confidently as you're saying he's going to beat him, but I do favor him. Like you said, there are some concerns with Francis on the intangible side of things. He actually has an incentive to lose this fight. If he truly does not want to stay in the UFC and box, it's a championship clause that we talked about before we got on the show. So that's an interesting narrative for you. Francis, I've been wrong on him many times. I actually have bet against him and paid for it on more than one occasion. And he's just a very physical athlete with an immense amount of speed and a tremendous amount of power in his hands. And that alone makes him a threat to knock out anybody in this division. And not only that, he's very intelligent. I remember the Anthony Hamilton fight. Him and his team went over a Kimura move backstage just moments before, learning it for the first time. And lo and behold, he submits Hamilton with that. He's only been in MMA for a few years, just like Gane, and their ability to learn the sport is at a rapid rate. So both guys are very smart with their approach. And the way I see this fight is Francis could win this fight. Absolutely. I think he needs to get it done early, though, as you were talking about. He just doesn't have like the cardio to at least that we've seen, to go like a solid 25 minutes and consistently pick apart the opposition. He could knock Gane out. That's possible, but Gane is very slick with his approach, very good footwork, as you pointed out. He's got the more varied tools on the feet. He pushes the higher pace, and he's got much better 5-round cardio. So I think Gane being the favorite makes sense because he should be the better round winner. Of course, he's going to be in some trouble early with Ngannou's power, but as you said, with power and big muscles, comes fatigue as the fight progresses. So, and you just never know how hard he wants this fight, as you pointed out. So I like Gane to win the fight. As it pertains to Monkey Knife Fight, I'm going to go with less on both guys. It's projected to go about 12 and a half minutes. And if we're assuming it goes around there and we take the UFC stats and we do this fancy dancy calculation that we always do, significant strikes attempted per minute, multiplied by the absorb rate of the opponent, we actually get Francis at 29.43 and Gane at 64.47. So I'm going to go with less and less. I also would like to point out that Francis has not topped 36.5 significant strikes. 36 and a half significant strikes in his entire UFC career. He's got 36, but no higher. So I definitely like the less on Francis, and I also like the less on Gane as well.
Yeah, that's something that I wanted to know. Francis has never landed more than 36 significant strikes. Gane in his last outing, though, he picked apart Derek Lewis, and I think it's going to be something. He landed 98 significant strikes against Derek Lewis inside of 3 rounds before stopping him in the 3rd round. And that's exactly, I'm seeing something very similar to that. I think Francis is going to go after that knockout, like you said, because that's his only path to victory. It really is, because Gane is going to outroll with him on the mat. Gane submitted Dontel Mays with a heel hook. In his first fight, he got an armbar, triangle submission. The guy's got tools. I don't see any which possible way that Gane doesn't win this fight unless he blitzes straight forward with his stupid swings that we saw against Rosenstrike and knock him out. And look, it worked. But the thing is, now you're fighting in a bigger octagon, full-size octagon, not like the second Stipe fight. You're fighting a guy with longer arms than Stipe and much, much more versatile kicks and better movement. I see one path to the victory for Francis Ngannou, and it's a knockout. Ciryl Gane's never been knocked out. He's never lost. And I see Gane picking apart. I can see Gane finishing this with the TKO, with a flush kick to the face, a flying knee, because he even mixes those in. Like this, Ciryl Gane is the future of this heavyweight division. I can't wait to see him fight Tom Aspinall in a couple of years for that belt. 2 guys with a similar striking background. But for this fight, as it pertains to Monkey Knife Fight, I'm taking the more on Mr. Ciryl Gane, the less on Francis Ngannou, because, hey, Francis' time is over, as AJ said. He wants to be boxing. He's calling out Tyson Fury. The only way that can possibly happen is if he loses this fight because of the UFC's championship clause. So if he really wants to secure the bag at his later age, 35 years old, it might actually be in his best interest to lose. And also, Dana White is fed up with this guy. So if it does go to decision, I guarantee you, Ciryl Gane wins a decision if this goes that far, because the UFC hates Francis Ngannou right now. Hates him. Any counterpoints to that, AJ?
I mean, I don't know if the UFC hates Francis Ngannou. That's a pretty strong word. But, there is a level of, humbleness I think fighters should have. And, if Francis is thinking that he's better than the sport, bigger than the sport, however you want to word it, then yeah, that certainly doesn't help his case for staying on the UFC roster long term. So Gane, you don't really have to question his motivation. This is a big opportunity for him. Whereas, as you said, whether or not how much we want to buy into rumors, there are still rumors floating out there questioning Ngannou's level of commitment. And that alone gives pause if you're backing Ngannou. So I think Ciryl Gane becomes the new champ. And I think he is, my only concern is Gane is we haven't seen a ton of his takedown defense. So just down the road, if he faces a guy like a Curtis Blades type or a Romanov, then that could be interesting. But as it stands right now, I do believe that he is the most skilled fighter in this division, pending any defensive wrestling questions.
Well, we got not one title fight, but 2 title fights on this card. I'm in Mexico right now, and I'll tell you one thing. Brendan Moreno is a hero down here. Just an absolute hero. I was talking to a couple guys at the hotel. Everybody at this hotel is going to be watching that fight on Saturday night, so I know I'm not going to get any good service. So I might as well join them. I like Brendan Moreno here. I think he's got that X factor. And Deiveson Figueiredo, what made him so great was that he had that boogeyman-like mentality. He knew he was unbeatable, and now he's been defeated. And not just in a light way. Like, Brendan Moreno went out there and dominated that second, at least from my perspective. I think it was a pretty flush performance from him. And I think that's got to weigh heavy. I know he loves his Legos. He loves to train. And Deiveson Figueiredo, I know he's been working with Henry Cejudo, but I don't know. I think I have to lay in with the Mexican blood, especially because I'm here in Mexico. So I'm going to lean towards the Moreno side on this. I think Moreno's answered the Figueiredo question. And I think that's really going to be the takeaway here. I think that both these guys are going to exchange in the pocket. We're going to see a lot of strikes landed. I'm actually going to take the more and the more because I think Figueiredo will be better prepared for this third fight than he was for the second fight. So I'm going to take the more on this, as I expect it to be a war that gets dragged out. But if with the X factors and everything that I'm seeing in camp, it's in buildups, it looks like Moreno's ready to go on the long run and defend this belt for a little bit.
Yeah, I like Moreno as well. It's hard not to look at the second fight and just think that out of both fights that the two guys have had, that he has won the most decisively. The first fight, it's fair to say that if Figueiredo didn't get deducted the point, he would have won the decision, but the point still stands. It was a very close fight. In like Moreno, just like I'm not like super into intangibles, but I do think that the intangibles favor Moreno here. I mean, he's younger, more room to improve. He has improved at a rapid rate in the past few years. We've seen it in his fights. He used to be crazy hittable, like in the second Pantoja fight. Now his defense has sharpened up quite a bit. In Figueiredo, you have the weight cut questions. I'm sure Moreno doesn't have an easy weight cut, just like any other fighter, but Figueiredo is known to cut a large percentage of his body weight to make the weight. And as he's getting older, you just question how much of a toll that's taking on his body and how that affects his cardio, just his overall performance, his strength, that sort of thing. And he just didn't look right, like in that rematch. Was it because of the weight cut? Was it because of something else? Was it because Moreno's just improved significantly? I don't know, but that's the most recent sample size we have. And as you said, Moreno dominated him essentially. He dropped him in the first round, or maybe it was the second round, but he dropped him. He proved that he was the better grappler. He landed more takedowns. He took Figueiredo's back more than once. So I like Moreno to win. I think he's rightfully the favorite. From a betting perspective, I'm fine with where the line is. I think it's a favorite or pass situation. But as it pertains to monkey knife fight, I'm actually going to go less and less here. You guys know me by now. I'm big on the stats for this, and 17 and a half minutes is what the fight projects to go towards. I have Moreno's projected for like 78.72 strikes, significant strikes, that is, and then Figueiredo 42.53. So I'm actually going to go with less and less, and I think Moreno retains the title here.
Yeah, let me bounce this one off you with the Figueiredo and the weight cut situation. And you alluded to it that it looked like possibly his toughest weight cut. He's getting up there in age now. He was born in 87. Moreno's 6 years his younger. That weight cut, man, that's going to just get tougher and tougher with age. Do you think that is going to play? Yeah, I know you said you're not so big into the intangibles, but do you think that weight cut could be the story into this fight?
Yeah, and like it could be. And the thing is it's kind of like hindsight bias, right? Like I remember going into the second fight, going into the first fight, there was concerns on the Figueiredo side because of the weight cut, and he had to cut weight twice in the span of like a month because we remember he beat Alex Perez just before Moreno. And then now the talk was like, oh, now that Figueiredo has more time to cut weight for the Moreno rematch, he's going to look better. But that's not what we saw, right? You could say Moreno looked better, but regardless, it wasn't, it certainly was a step up in performance for Figueiredo. So trends could change, of course, but I feel like the weight narrative thing could be used in both ways, because that's why there was a lot of optimism of Figueiredo having a better performance in the rematch. And then lo and behold, he loses in a dominant fashion. So it's more or less just hard to pinpoint exactly why these guys lose, but it is something worth considering.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you on that one. I'm completely with you on the prediction. On the monkey knife fight side of things, I have to lean towards the more and more because I feel like this is going to be Deiveson Figueiredo's last stand. He knows that what's on the line for his career. I think he's going to leave it all in the cage. He averages over 3 significant strikes landed per minute. Striking defense down at 49%. So, he's going to get hit. And obviously Moreno, he doubled up the strikes on him in the last fight, landing 47 significant strikes to Figueiredo's 24. And I think that this fight's just going to be a little longer. I know you said it's projected to go 17 and a half minutes, but I think that X factor of the heart and the conditioning is going to come into play. And I think that's why I'm going to have to take more. I'm expecting a Moreno maybe 4th round finish or a decision victory, fourth, fifth round, late finish or decision victory on that one. AJ, if you were to say your path to victory here, what would Moreno's path to victory be?
Takedowns, back control, making sure he controls the center of the octagon and really pushes the pace on Figueiredo. Like the biggest takeaway I had early in that second fight was Figueiredo just didn't really get going. Like he conceded the back foot, didn't throw many strikes. I mean, he landed like 5 significant strikes several minutes into the first round. Moreno was just landing much more often on him. He just looked so sharp. So you don't want Figueiredo to have another timid performance. Otherwise, that significantly decreases his chance of winning. And even in that first fight where he had a much higher pace performance than he typically does, it was very close. So if you're Moreno, just take the center of the octagon, push the pace, mix in some takedowns, take the back when you can, and then look to finish the fight along the way. Because you don't want to give a guy like Figueiredo 25 minutes to land that big shot on the feet or look for a submission on the ground or something like that, because he is very dangerous still.
Up next, AJ, we have an exciting prospect.
There, I missed it.
AJ's riding less and less. I'm going more and more. So we're going a little contrary to each other on this one. But hey, we both see the fight playing out very similarly. It's just a question of how many strikes will be thrown and how many times these guys are going to connect. And at the end of the day, I think we have a pretty accurate piece of where this fight's going to be. And I think that it's going to be close to those numbers either way.
Cool. So Connor more and more, AJ less and less. Got it. All right, on to the next one.
Yeah, well, we got Michel Pereira is welcoming a pretty highly touted prospect. Andre Fialho is 14-3-1. Now, if you're not a fan of if you're only a UFC fan, you've probably never seen this guy fight, because this is going to be his UFC debut, and it's not going to be an easy one. He's taking on a Michel Pereira, Pereira's won 3 straight. And he is probably one of the most fun fighters to watch. The way this guy moves around, the way he does flips to try to kick guys in the face, which I believe I saw one, which technically would have been illegal because it was a downed opponent. He did like a spinning backflip kick and caught the guy in the face, which technically is an illegal strike, but they counted it anyway, and the fight kept going. I think that happened in the Nico Price fight, his last time out. But Pereira in that Nico Price fight, 3 takedowns. The submission attempts were flowing, and then on the feet, man, landing 92 significant strikes. I know some of that came from ground and pound work, but still, he's looking really sharp right now. Since that loss to Diego Sanchez, I mean, he's rattled off 3 straight wins, one of them being a finish. The other 2, he's showing his chin, showing that he can go to distance. And with Chaos Williams outperforming Chaos Williams to a victory, a unanimous decision. So I think it's going to be a rude welcoming. And I think we're going to see these guys go less and less here, because I think Pereira is just going to have his way with the newcomer.
Yeah, I've actually looked into Fialho in the past. I remember I bet on one of his fights when he fought James Vick that was with XMMA or something like that. He's dangerous on the feet, but I do think, to your point, Pereira is more skilled. He's also more prepared. He's not taking this fight on short notice, and he is much more UFC tested, I'd say. But when you're talking about a guy like Pereira, there is a level of variance to his fights. He tends to kind of play around in there a little bit too much. He could have a low output performance against a powerful striker like Chaos Williams. Like against Diego Sanchez, he got disqualified because he wasn't like aware in there. And then against Tristan Connolly, I guess most notably, he lost as a big favorite because he was dancing around the octagon as he was entering in, and he got very tired as the fight wore on and lost to an opponent he was much larger than and more skilled than. But I do think he should be favored, not like running to bet him or anything. As it pertains to Monkey Knife Fight, though, I'm going to go with less and less. Pereira does a pretty good job of staying on the outside and not absorbing a lot of strikes. I also think that there's going to be a level of respect for one another, because they are probably aware of the fact that they're both dangerous with their hands. And just statistically, Pereira absorbs 3.28 significant strikes per minute, lands 4.22, which is decent. But like in a fight that is projected to go about 10 minutes, both guys are finishers usually. I wouldn't be that surprised if we just see a quick finish or something like that happen. I think that Fialho just leaves a lot of openings on the feet where a guy like Pereira should be able to exploit if he wants it, I should just say. So I'm going to go with less and less here, and I do think Pereira is rightfully the favorite.
Yeah, I think Pereira should be the favorite. And something that I want to note when I was doing some research back this is that Fialho, he lost to Chris Curtis via ground and pound, got taken to the mat and got absolutely destroyed. Chris Curtis, well, he has had a nice little streak welcoming into the UFC. I don't think he's on that same level. I think Pereira is going to get this fight to the ground, and I think that's where this fight is going to be taking place, and he's going to have his way with him on the mat. And that's the one, you said it, the one big worrisome thing when you put money behind Michel Pereira is he just going to play with his food, or is he going to actually go out and execute? And I think with this one, he's on a winning streak. He's feeling good. Hopefully he doesn't get overconfident. You know, there's openings there for him to get the takedowns, get the submission attempts, and secure some ground and pound, because we've seen other fighters have success against Fialho in that exact scenario. So I like the less and the less here too, as I expect a grapple-heavy game plan and honestly a finish. So that's great. I'm right with you on this one, AJ. How do you see the fight ending? Can I ask you that one though?
I think Pereira gets the knockout. Fialho, like my big takeaway of the James Vick fight, even though he ended up winning by knockout, was he was losing that fight early. I don't think he's that effective at distance. I think he needs to kind of get in the pocket and do some damage on the inside. And he has been knocked out a couple points, once by Curtis and then once by another opponent. Pereira does hit very hard. So I do think that while Pereira could get it done on the ground, he's a very talented grappler. I think that more than likely he's going to want to stand, land with power, speed, and then probably just land something hard along the way and then get a knockout.
There you go. A couple finishes coming in that third slot there. And this next one, I guarantee you've heard of his surname, Said Nurmagomedov. Yes, that's right. Not Habib, Said. He's taking on Cody Stamann, and that's a good fight for Said, I think. I'm going to take him to win that one pretty convincingly. I like his stand-up. I like his groundwork. And Stamann, to me, is starting to fade as of late in his last few performances, AJ. Man, this is a tough line because of the ground and pound options. I'm going to have to take less on Cody Stamann. I don't think he's going to hit Said 55 times. The question is Said going to take him down and beat him up, or is it going to be the pitter pat? Like, I'll go less and less on this one as well.
Yeah, it's a tough fight to read. I don't think we know enough about Nurmagomedov to definitively say how he'll do in this matchup like this. And that's okay. Sometimes we deal with uncertainty, but he hasn't faced a wrestler like Stamann, not even close. Like, he's fine, like as a wrestler, I guess. Like, he's got good balance. He has some offensive competencies, but like going back to the Raoni Barcelos fight, part of the reason why he lost was because he got taken down and held down for a bit. Not a tremendous amount of time, but he still got taken down. And Stamann's a really good wrestler. He has a background. He's very physically strong. He's a good athlete. And he's coming off, a couple losses, but to the division's elite. Nurmagomedov is coming off an impressive win. But this is a big step up. And I don't think he's just going to go out there and just totally smoke Stamann. Stamann's really tough to finish historically. I favor Nurmagomedov though, because on the feet, I think he's a bit more effective from range. He's got 6 inches of reach. He's a bit more threatening, I'd say, and he's more varied, I'd say, with like his kicks and stuff. But for Stamann to win, I think he has to mix in those takedowns, do damage on the inside with his boxing, because he's an underrated pocket fighter, and then kind of win on control. So I'm going to side with Nurmagomedov hesitantly, and as it pertains to monkey knife fight, I'm going to go with less on Nurmagomedov, and also less on Stamann. I'm actually going to go less on every one of the ones that we've talked about, interestingly enough, based on the stats. And also Nurmagomedov just doesn't, he's got 65 significant strikes once in his UFC career, and that was the highest that he got. So, and he's not like a big takedown, like ground and pound guy, because he's only landed 1 takedown in his career against Justin Scoggins, who is a flyweight and had been taken down a handful of times throughout his career. So I'm not totally sure where Nurmagomedov is at, but I'm going to favor him nonetheless off of like a gut feeling, and then say that it goes less and less here.
So something to note from just research and watching the Merab fight against Stamann. Merab took Stamann down 5 times. Rivera took him down twice. He's been out grappled if the takedown department, 7 takedowns to 2 in his last 2 fights. I understand he's got that wrestling background, and that's where he's going to want to have this fight. But I don't know if is it going to get it there. And if he gets Said to the ground, does Said get out of that with another crazy knockout. Like he's got 2 knockouts in his UFC career already. I just don't see this as a good fight for Cody Stamann for what I've seen on tape from him in his last couple performances. For a guy that needs to go out and wrestle, I'm not fully sold that he's going to be able to out wrestle Nurmagomedov. And that's not so much because of his surname, because as you said, Saeed's more of the striker to Khabib being the dominant wrestler that we know him to be. But the facts of the matter is that he has struggling. So that's where I'm looking at that line. And that's why I have to take Saeed here. And guys, let's get into it now with the Knockout Kings contest. The best part about Monkey Knife Fight, you get to pick 3 guys. If all 3 of your guys score a knockout, you're in to win your share of $2,500, courtesy of our good friends here at Monkey Knife Fight. So let's get into it right off the bat. I think we kind of said it. Michel Pereira is a great pick there, and Ciryl Gane. Those are 2 names that I'm circling on my book because as I said, the paths to victory are both there. And I think another good one to look at for is Ronnie Barcelos, a guy that you said earlier. He's taking on Victor Henry. Henry's 34 years old. Barcelos is just a fresher, younger guy. I like him. I like this to be hard fought, but I know Henry's a dog. I just don't think he's going to be able to hang in there for 3 rounds with Ronnie Barcelos. So there's the trio.
Yeah, so I like Pereira and Barcelos as well. We talk about Pereira. Yeah, Barcelos, it's tricky because he's going up against a guy who's never been knocked out, but at the same time, Henry is very hittable defensively, and Barcelos throws a lot of strikes per minute, and he hits hard. And I think he's a more technical boxer. So it's a risk, but I think this is there's a big skill difference here. And whenever you have that, there could easily be a finish one way or another. And then lastly, Jack Della Maddalena, UFC debutant, first fight of the night, taking on Pete Rodriguez. He projects to finish this fight by knockout. He's also like a historical finisher. He's coming off of a decision win on his Contender Series fight, but when you look at his record, the vast majority of his wins are by strikes. So a little risky there taking on a newcomer, but he's a much better fighter, is what it projects out to be. And I think based on his historical reputation of being a finisher, he could get this thing done inside the distance. So I'm going to go with Pereira, Barcelos, and Maddalena as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. And honestly, I love that we kind of mixed in some names from that prelims card just because of how stacked this card is. And I think if anyone wants to watch these fights through duration, as AJ said right at the top of the show, you're going to be entertained and it's going to be a fun card. AJ, what are you most looking forward to come Saturday night? UFC 270 in Anaheim, Gane versus Ngannou. The true UFC heavyweight champion will emerge come Saturday night. What are you most excited for? Is it that fight, the way I just hyped it up, or is there another fight or something that you're looking for that you're going, that looks fun?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun fights on this card, but the one I'm looking forward to the most is the headliner, Ngannou and Gane. It's just whenever you have a heavyweight fight, I think it just draws a lot of eyeballs, and we know that both guys, especially Ngannou, could bring like a lot of excitement to a bout, just never knowing when he's going to get that knockout. And then Gane, the exciting thing for him is like he's less of a knockout threat, yeah, but like if he's able to impressively pick apart Francis for over 5 rounds and maybe even get a stoppage, he would be the first guy to A, stop Francis, and B, other than Miocic, maybe just utilize a striking heavy attack over 5 rounds. Miocic mainly mixed in some wrestling, which Gane can too, but I would expect that if Gane wins this fight over 5 rounds, it would be in a striking affair. So either way, I think that whoever gets a victory here, they'll do so in impressive fashion.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on that one. And folks, it's going to be an awesome show. Make sure you head over to Monkey Knife Fight, lay down your picks, and have some fun and tune in. Make sure you hold AJ and I accountable. We're always here to have a good time and give you guys our top analysis so you can see that nice ROI come Saturday night. AJ, man, I miss seeing your beautiful face. It's awesome talking to you again. Woo! Welcome to 2022.